let's begin. My name is Masha Kochakova or Maria Kravtsova, it's the same actually. And I will tell you something, I hope interesting, about story prototyping. I'm an indie developer, game writer, and narrative designer. I work in the industry about 5 years for now, and I work in such games like social farms, many of them, some MMORPGs like Skyforge or Tanat Online. Maybe some of you heard about this stuff. And in October 2015, we launched our first game, Message Quest, with my team, Troupe. We're a small indie studio. After all this stuff, we made something by ourselves. And this is point-and-click adventure, story-based, really story-driven. And we like to call it stained glass, point-and-click adventure, and so on. So, what we will speak about today. Obviously story prototyping, yes, and some problems and some solutions, of course. And the trick is that after that, we will repeat the same process again and again, and this is important. And I have my card here, but I can't do both. I can't speak, use cards, and but here, yeah, so problems. Who of you guys make games? Please tell me, share with me. Yes, and do you have stories in your games? Hands, not very much hands. Okay. So, but maybe you heard something about this, that in our area, Russia and Ukraine, Belarus and Estonia as well, we have problems with stories in games. That's why maybe many of you don't raise your hands when I asked you. So I think that the problem is that there is a gap between the actual story, the plot. We may imagine, we may make up really great story for our game, but when we try to put it in actual game, that's the magic begins, because it just doesn't work. So, and well, I think we don't really know how to build stories in games. And that's the problems, yes. And I'm here to bring you the solution. And this is story prototyping, of course. So let's speak about prototyping. What is it, prototyping? Why we use prototyping? Please tell me, somebody, what we can prototype in stories, with stories, in terms of stories. Anything. You know, you're just narrative designers myself. Somebody else, please. Oh, okay, I can actually help you. I think you agree with me that we can prototype, for example, dialogue system, yes? Well, it's obvious. Or some built-in games cutscenes. Here we can prototype this mechanic, yes. We can prototype some gameplay stuff which also connects with stories. But, there is but. All this stuff that immediately comes to my mind is all about tools. And tools are about how. But stories are about what and why. And this is important, this thing, what and why. First question we should ask, I don't know, yes, sorry, that was hook. So, why, yes, why, we stopped at why. First of all, before we start prototype anything in our story, we should ask ourselves, why we need story in our game at all. Raise your hands, please. Who asked yourself this question? Why we need stories in our game? Thank you. Yes, 3 people. Right. Okay, but when we start answer this question, well, interesting cases may happen, and yes, I maybe you recognize this, yes, monk picture, but it's not the point. I like to share with you this case of this war of mine. Who played this war of mine? Oh, many hands. Good. So, well, there is the main thought of this slide is that we can prototype really anything. Really, we can treat prototyping like really wide thing. And these guys in this war of mine, actually they prototyped emotions of players. I think that's not very common thought, yes, to prototype emotions of players, but they actually did it. There is a great talk of Grzegorz Mazur in DevGam Hamburg 2015 about art of prototyping, when he actually spoke about how exactly they prototype emotions, because they wanted their game to be really emotional, to have real great impact on players' mind and soul. So they wanted to check it, and they started to prototype emotions. So we must think about it, what actually we can prototype in terms of story. And this is takeaway, yes, from part 2 of my talk of problems. And I won't read it aloud, but about goals, what we should know about goals. I have a card about it. I don't remember. Goals means what exactly we want from this story, what exact experience and emotions we want players to feel, to receive. So, and when we define these goals, we know what instruments we need to use and prototype them. That's an easy part, I think. So, questions to ask ourselves. That's just a simple questionnaire to take away from this talk when you start to develop your game and you think, do I need a story? Please ask yourself some of these questions. I think they will help you with story prototyping and with better development story in your game. So, and when we spoke about experience of other developers, first of all, I want to share with you experience of these cool guys. Yes, everybody recognizes. I didn't put there the name of this game because I think everybody knows what it is. So, what did these guys for story prototyping? Well, actually, their case is about cutscenes. When they started to build this game, they use traditional way of developing cutscenes, where you write a plot, then you make a storyboard, and then you just put it. Then you make a mock-up, and so on and so on and so on. But soon they, how to say it, found out that this didn't work really well, because they spent too much time and money on adjusting the content to top managers' feedback. So they decided to skip some parts of this pipeline, and they just stopped to make storyboards. So the writers wrote the script, and then cool guys from cutscene team just put it in game without any storyboarding, on mockups, on just building blocks, on very rough animation. But why we are interested in this particular case? Because in this way they actually prototype a story as well. That is not only example of good cutscene development, but also story prototyping, because with this kind of pipeline, they could, see this stuff like pacing, like amount of information, like emotions of players. So their writers and their top managers see cutscenes already in games, and well, they gave their feedback in really early stages of the development, and it was done only on first the DLC. So that's why we should value this example. Cool guys do such stuff. But what about indies, small teams and small games, and such little pretty project of mine? Yep, it's my game. When we start to build our own game, we thought like, our game is all about story, and the story is a main feature in our game. So before we will do any content, any graphical assets, any animation, we should check if our story is good enough for this game. Because if story is bad, well, that's not the point at all to make this game. So what we've done, we built a story prototype like a cartoon without any gameplay, just like in simple animations and mock-ups. It was really awful. So I didn't use any screenshots from this early stage prototype, not to scare you. And we showed this prototype to some good game writers, experienced game writers. Maybe you know such names like Nikolai Dubovsky. Yes, somebody heard about him. And Alexandra Molchanov from movie industry, and Alina Brazdeikene, who is there now. So these guys just saw this prototype, this cartoon story without any gameplay, and they were like, well, yeah, it's fine story, make a game. And what we received from it? We received this, this very valuable thing. We hadn't to change our story during the development, during the other development, because we already had defined it. So, we saved really lots of, I don't know how to say it, lot of time and money on building this game, developing this game, because it helped us to avoid many adjustments in content. So this was my main thought. And well, I don't know what time is it. Are we have any time? Let me return to this slide after the whole speech, because I don't know if we are okay with time. So take away from the second part is, well, the story is a feature like any other feature in your game, like monetization, like tutorial, like in, I don't know, gameplay, some stuff, and so on. So you can do the same with the story. Prototype, iterate, and actually this slide is about iteration. So we will return to it, I hope. And the questions, of course, questions. And what I must say about those questions is actually the first question, what's good? Very often we forget about what's good in our game. We start to criticize ourselves and story in our game too harsh. So please, when you do prototype, when you do your story in your game, on this stage, you must see what is actually good, what you should keep there. So, and everything else you could cut easily. So, and this is the second interesting idea. Well, now we are making our new game, Avalanche. And now we are at the stage of prototyping. And the surprise is that the same approach that we used in Message Quest doesn't work here at all. Like we start to make this story prototype, like cartoon with all the text and all the dialogues, but it just didn't work because me as an author was so terrified with this new story, and we came back. Now we should came back to previous, just here. Sorry for jumping, but to these questions, because these questions is what we now asking ourselves with our next game about. Do we need a story there, and why? What we want from it, and we return here and start to prototype some totally different stuff. So the main outcome, actually, not part 3 takeaway, is that there is no single algorithm to develop stories in games. Every time you should start it like a brand new world. Because you will prototype really different stuff. And that's good news, because next time you can do it much better. Next time you will be in more control of your story in game. And yeah, now we return to this repeat, iterate stuff. This is actually the main questions about story prototyping, about stories in games, and I really do believe that answering these questions will help you to develop good story in your game. Many developers don't even think about this when they start. And if we have time, I think we have a bit of time, I will return here, because I was worried about time. Well, about iteration and the actual profit of prototyping and iteration of prototyping is these two cases. Who played Witness, the Witness of Jonathan Blow? One man there, back there, nobody else. Okay, well, I will tell you something about this. And the second game, Franz Kafka, is from our Russian game developer Denis Galanin. His first game was Hamlet, and well, okay. Just I think that it's a good example, because these two cases, Witness of Jonathan Blow back there and Franz Kafka back here, for me, when two different developers do the exact same thing with their games. Well, both of them had no idea of what they're going to get from their games when they started to prototype it. The Witness, this triple indie game, and this small game of us, both of them were growing, like a tree from prototype, and both of them are really have really high quality of puzzles, and both developers use prototyping and iteration to grow these puzzles through the story. I don't know how to say it properly, but I think you understand me, yes? What I'm trying to say. So, and I repeat it once again. Please iterate and treat your story as a feature, and iterate again. And thank you so much for not suffering really much from my terrible English. Thank you. I think we have questions, yes?
Thank you. I have a question. You said that this process needs prototyping. It's like making it over and over again. How do you test it? Because your eyes and mind gets blurred by the same text. Do you make, I don't know, focus test group?
Yep, on fresh people.
So each iteration requires new people?
Well, yeah, but not too many. 3-5 people is enough.
How many people did you need for this message quest?
For message quest, 3 on their early stage, yes, for story prototyping, and then each other stage of development, we just tested like here in conferences. We just brought it on conferences and show it to the people and got a feedback. There is guy.
Hello. Did you use professional writers also, or you just put your heads together? Sorry. Okay, I got the answer already.
I am professional writer. I made a game. Well, yeah, it's actually this is a good question because we used script doctoring. You know, there is a guy, Josué Manchan from Spain, with his own studio of quests back there, and he really helped us with story because he was our last tester, I think, our last story tester before the release, and he helped us to adjust the story to European people, to European culture. He helped a lot. So we used, actually, yes, real writers' help.
You mentioned the prototyping of emotions for This War of Mine.
Yep.
Can you explain how the prototyping was made?
Yeah, really, basically, I don't know how to say it. They just, you know, they made a prototype to check if it impact on players, what emotions did players feel during playing this prototype.
I just cannot imagine, because usually emotions are made by music, by the atmosphere.
Yeah.
But in the prototype there is none of this.
Well, by literature too, of course, and by movies, and by some actions, and by some events also. So I think if you want to know more about it, you should go and watch this video of Grzegorz Mazur, because it's really good talk, and he explains how exactly they did it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. So that's all, or we have more questions? Well, if it is all, you may come to me, take my cards, and really, guys, thank you so much. This was my first time public speaking in English ever.